Hi friends, hello. Welcome to Crack UPSC CSC with India's largest online learning platform, Unacademy. This is Kiran Shetty, faculty for Political Science, Public Administration, Polity, Issues in Governance, and Ethics. My educational qualifications are: I have done my MBA from Usmania University. I have done my MA in Political Science and Public Administration. I got qualified UGC NET in both subjects, political science as well as public administration. I'm about to complete my LLB. I'm in my last semester. With regard to my UPSC preparation, I have attempted 7 times prelims, 4 times I wrote mains. I have more than 10 years of UPSC teaching. I have taught in Telangana ST IAS Study Circle, Telangana Minority IAS Study Circle, Super 60 IAS Academy, Hyderabad, Narayana IAS Academy, Hyderabad, Pen India IAS Academy, Hyderabad. If you have any queries, doubts, any clarification, or if you want any guidance, you can contact me on 9652583905. 9652583905. Today we are going to discuss very important and interesting topic, that is Fundamental Rights Part 4. From Unacademy, you will be getting daily live classes, live test, quizzes, structured courses, unlimited access to videos on civil service mains and prelims. You can prepare with the top educators of Unacademy, such as Roman Saini, Mudit Gupta, Prakash Kumar, Tarun Goel. You will be getting videos and material on UPSC prelims and main with regard to subjects like polity, history, current affairs, economy, ethics, interview preparation. You can subscribe 12 months. It will be 44,000. If you use my promo code, you will get 10% discount. And if you subscribe for 12 months, 24 months, it will be all the more good, because just for 64,000, you will be getting 24 months subscription. Unacademy has come up recently with iconic subscription, which is very important for the aspirants, because in this subscription you will get personal mentorship from the educator, that is faculty. If you use my promo, that is capital KIRAN, you will be getting my personal mentorship on subjects political science, public administration, polity and issues in governance, and ethics. Apart from me, Unacademy will appoint a team of expert educators to give you personal mentorship and personal feedback. You will be getting daily questions on mains, test series, live classes, structured schedule, and study planner. For 1 year, it is 57,600 after 10% discount, and for 2 years, it is 89,100. Friends, in last session, we discussed till Article 24. In this session, we will start from Article 25. That is, right to freedom of conscience, practice, propagate, and profession of religion. First, freedom of conscience. It refers to inner freedom of an individual to mold his relationship with the God or supernatural in whatever way he wants. Friends, in different religions, the devotees, the followers of that particular religion, they will assume a particular kind of relationship with the supernatural or the God. For instance, Christians, they call him the Father, the God in the heaven, and they assume him as Father. In Hindu religion, there are around 19 relations which can be there between the devotee and the God, such as friend, devotee as friend, the relationship between the devotee and God as the relationship between friends, then the relationship between the master and slave, devotee assuming himself as a slave, as Anjaneya assumes himself as a slave of Lord Rama. In the same vein, like there are 19 relations. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, they say, he has realized God in all these 19 forms. Anyhow, this article clearly indicates how our constitution makers ensured freedom of religion of an individual in an elaborated manner. In no other constitution of the world, right to freedom of religion has been discussed and ensured in such a detail. In our constitution, we have, what you say, discussed and ensured freedom of religion in such a detailed manner. In such a detailed manner, it refers to inner freedom of an individual to mold his relationship with God or supernatural in whatever way he wants. Then right to profess. Right to profess, it refers to declaration of one's religious beliefs and faith openly. Declaration of one's religious beliefs and faith openly. For instance, followers of Buddhist religion, they believe in karma philosophy. If you do good, good will return to you. If you bad, if you if you have done some bad karma, bad will be returned to you. That's why Buddha used to say, even if you hide yourself underneath the earth, the bad effects of your bad karma, from that you cannot escape. They believe in birth and death cycle. They believe in karma philosophy. Like that, you can profess the beliefs of your own religion. You can profess the beliefs, the tenets, the basic principles of one's own religion. That is referred as right to profession of religion. Then right to practice religion. Every individual has the right to practice his religious worships, ceremonies, rituals, etc. Every individual has the right to practice his religious worship, ceremonies, rituals, etc. That is right to practice. Every religion will be having its own, what to say, religious practices. Like in Islam religion, the followers of Islam religion, they practice 5 times namaz in a day. So that is their religious practice. In the same way, the followers of Christian religion, they pray to the Christ and they offer their prayers in church. On Sundays, particularly, they visit church and they participate in religious worship. That is their right to practice one's own religion. In the same way, in Hindu people, they practice rituals, they take holy bath in holy rivers, like that. Every individual has right to practice his own religion, right to practice the religious worship, ceremonies, rituals, etc. Then every individual has right to propagate his religion. Every individual has the right to propagate his religion. He can disseminate the philosophy and basic tenets of his religion to others. That is his right to propagate his religion. He can go on roaming across the nation and openly he can propagate the religious tenets and beliefs of his religion. In our childhood, we used to watch pastors from Christian religion in big chaurais, in main centers in a town or in a city. They used to stand on big a tall stool and they used to read out the Bible, important verses of Bible. This is how they can propagate the basic tenets and principles of their own religion. That is also one of the aspects under Article 25. The right to freedom of religion under Article 25 refers to individual freedom of religion. It refers to individual freedom of religion. Now, the restrictions that are available on Article 25, it is subjected to public order, morality, and health. Sometimes some priests, some religious elders, they claim that we are going to cure this particular disease. You need not to take the patient to hospital, and in the melee, the patient may lose his life. They are against the constitution and law, and the government certainly can impose restrictions on such kind of illegal and unconstitutional practices related to public order, morality, and health. There are some practices in Hindu religion which are called tantrika sadhanas, in which some practices like being naked, other tantric sadhanas are there. They are not supposed to be performed in public to frighten the people. So these religious worships, ceremonies, and other rights that are available under Article 25 are subjected to these restrictions related to public order, morality, and health. The court has right to decide whether a particular practice or rite or ceremonies are part of that particular religion. This is very, very important one. Whether a particular practice is part and parcel of the ceremonies or worship of that particular religion can only be decided by Supreme Court. That can only be decided by, and this right is available for citizens as well as aliens. This particular issue cropped up, the court has right to decide whether a particular practice or rites or ceremonies are part of particular religion. Why is it so? It is because, for instance, if you take people from Sikh community, they wear sword, a weapon. It is part and parcel of their religious practice. But bearing arms is against law. In order to bear any, weapon, we need to take license. from the police and law authorities, law enforcing authorities, that people who belong to Sikh community, they can wear, or what is it, they can wear this weapon that is fought without taking any permission from law enforcing authorities, because it is part and parcel of their religious ceremony. It is the court which can decide whether a particular practice or ceremony or worship is part and parcel of that particular religion. That can only be decided by. Then Supreme Court pronounced that secularism does not mean the state should be hostile to religion, but that it should be neutral towards different religions. This misconception we have, secularism means something against the religion, especially something against majority religion. This is the most unfortunate concept that has been ingrained in the minds of people in India. Something secular, it is said, it is assumed that it is against majority community or majority religion in India. Secularism, it doesn't mean the state should be antagonistic to any particular religion or religion itself. State should not behave as if it is agnostic or atheist. It just means that it should be impartial towards all the religions. It should be impartial towards all the religions. Then Supreme Court also declared that just because an individual is a devout Hindu or devout Muslim or Christian, it does not mean he is anti-secular. This is also very, very important. Just because an individual is a devout Hindu or devout Muslim or a devout Christian, it does not mean he is anti-secular. Giving preference to Sanskrit in academic syllabus as an elective will not damage the secular credentials of state. This is also very, very important point. This was also mooted by Supreme Court. Giving preference to Sanskrit in academic syllabus as an elective will not damage the secular credentials of the state. In Constitution also, one of the directives that are mentioned outside Part 4 of the Constitution is the state shall strive for promotion of Devanagari script and Hindi language, which are part and parcel of Sanskrit language. So it doesn't mean it is, what to say, it is damaging the secular credentials of the Constitution. It is against the Constitution. Here, it is not seeking the votes. Here, a printing mistake is there. I'm sorry. Here, it is not seeking the votes on the grounds of here, right to propagate. You note it down. If you want, right to propagate one's own religion does not mean the right to convert people. Here, small correction. My PPT making assistant made a mistake. Seeking votes on this is, it has to be skipped. Right to propagate religion. We have 4 types of rights under Article 25 now. right to concise, right to practice, right to profess, and right to propagate. Right to propagate one's own religion does not mean right to convert people. Right to propagate one's own religion does not mean the right to convert people. Right to propagate one's own religion does not mean the right to propagate religion. Does not mean the right to propagate one's own religion. Just give me a minute. Yeah. Yes, friends. This is the correct, what do you say, the corrections made PPT. Right to propagate religion does not mean right to propagate one's religion does not mean right to convert people. Right to propagate own one's own religion does not mean the right to convert people. Right to convert people. Then comes Article 26, freedom to manage religious affairs. Always remember Article 25 is meant for individual freedom of religion. Article 26 is meant for religious denomination. The freedom of religion, the right to freedom of religion that are available under Article 26 are meant for religious denomination. They are meant for religious denomination. So every religious denomination has right to establish and maintain institutions for religious and charitable purpose. Every religious denomination has the right to establish and maintain institutions for religious and charitable purpose. They have right to establish and maintain institutions for religious and charitable purposes. Then second, right to manage its own affairs in the matters of religion. Right, every religious denomination has right to manage its own affairs in the matters of religion. Right to manage its own affairs in the matters of religion. Third, every religious denomination has right to acquire and own movable and immovable property. Every religious denomination has the right to acquire and own movable and immovable property. And then the last one, right to administer such property in accordance with law. Every religious denomination has right to administer such acquired movable and immovable property in accordance with law. That is Article 26. As we discussed earlier instance, Article 25 ensures individual freedom of religion. Article 25 ensures individual freedom of religion, and Article 26 ensures freedom of religion of a religious denomination. Article 25 ensures individual freedom of religion. Article 26 ensures freedom of religion of a religious denomination. then we may get one doubt. What do we mean to say religious denomination? Supreme Court held that religious denomination should satisfy following conditions. Supreme Court declared that religious denomination should satisfy following conditions. First, it should be collection of individuals who have system of belief which they regard conducive to their spiritual well-being. Here, religious denomination means a section of people who belong to a particular sect in that particular religion, like ISKCON, like uh, Aurobindo Society, like Ramakrishna Mission. These are religious denominations in Hindu religion. They have a particular system of belief which they consider conducive to their spiritual well-being. For instance, Ramakrishna Mission and motto is Atmano Mokshardam Jagat Hichayata. So, liberation of one's own soul and welfare of the world. Even while working for one's own spiritual liberation, they should work for the well-being of the world. That's why every monk who joins in Ramakrishna Mission, till he attains 60 years of his age, he has to work for the welfare of the society. That is compulsion in Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission. After that, they can retire if they want. But till the attainment of 60 years, like in government service, they have to tender, they have to render humanitarian relief efforts. So this is system of belief they consider conducive to their own spiritual well-being. They consider that such kind of belief system is amicable for their spiritual well-being. Then second, they should have common organization. They should have common organization. They should have common organization means they should have an organization like ISKCON. It has its own organization. Then Aurobindo Society. Then Missionary of Charity that was established by Mother Teresa. They have their own organization. They should have common organization. Then it should be designated by a distinctive name. It should be designated by a distinctive name. A particular name should be given to that particular religious denomination. These are the features of religious denomination according to Supreme Court. Then Article 27. Article 27 prohibits imposing tax to promote any religion. Earlier, during Mughals period, jizya tax used to be imposed against people who used to follow Hindu religion. Now, such kind of imposition of tax on particular, people from particular religion is banned by this particular fundamental is banned. Apart from that, not only for persecution, religious persecution, even to promote any religion, the tax cannot be imposed. No individual will be imposed any tax to promote any religion. No individual will be imposed any tax to promote any religion. But fee or toll tax can be levied provide basic amenities and safety measures. For instance, if you visit any temple, then especially in our South India, if you visit any big temple, you need to take ticket. In Tirumala Tirupati, everybody knows 1,000 rupees, 2,000 like that. Ticket is charged for darshan. Even in Varanasi, Kashi Vishwanath temple also. No. I'm sorry. Kashi Vishwanath temple, it is not charged. In Kalbhairav temple, it is charged. So such kind of a toll fee or ticket fee is taken to provide basic amenities in that particular religious place. It is not to promote any particular religion. It is just to provide basic amenities in that particular area. So this is Article 27. This is how, friends, you can observe Article 25, Article 26, Article 27. Then we are going to discuss Article 28, Article 29, 30. This is how right to freedom of religion has been elaborately discussed and has been elaborately ensured by our constitution, which is not done by any other constitution in any democratic country. This is the greatness of our constitution makers. Article 28. Freedom from attending religious instructions. Freedom from attending religious instructions or worship in certain educational institutions. Freedom from attending religious instructions or worship in certain educational institutions. For this purpose, 4 types of educational institutions have been recognized by the Constitution. Freedom from attending religious instruction or worship in certain educational institutions. 4 types of educational institutions have been recognized. Institutions wholly maintained by the state. Institutions wholly maintained by the state. Educational institutions administered by the state but established under endowment or trust. Educational institutions administered by the state but established under endowment or trust. But established under endowment or trust. Sometimes educational institutions may be established by trust, but later on the administration of that educational institution might be taken up by the government. For instance, I studied in a degree college in my hometown Warangal. The name of my college is Chandakantaya Memorial Trust College. The college actually has been established under trust called Chandakantaya Memorial. An individual, a trader, a famous trader used to be there in my hometown in Warangal. For humanitarian relief, he established series of a chain of schools and hospitals. So this educational institution was established under the trust, but later on, after the death of that individual, the government has taken up that administration of that college. So here is that second type, educational institutions administered by the state but established under endowment or trust. But established under endowment or trust. Third, educational institutions receiving aid from the government. Educational institutions receiving aid. Aid means assistance, financial assistance from the government. Educational institutions receiving aid from the government. Then educational institutions recognized by the government. Third one is educational institutions receiving aid from the government. Fourth one is educational institutions recognized by the government. In educational institutions of type 1, religious instructions are totally banned. In educational institutions of type 1, religious instructions are totally banned. In type 2, educational institutions, religious instructions are allowed. In type 2 educational institutions, religious instructions are allowed. In type 3 and type 4, religious instructions are voluntary. In type 3 and type 4, religious instructions are voluntary. In type 3 and type 4, religious instructions are voluntary. In first category, educational institutions, religious instructions are totally banned. That means the educational institutions that are wholly and totally run by government, in those institutions, religious instructions are totally banned. In type 2 educational institutions, that means the educational institutions that have been established under trust but are run by the state. In that, religious instructions are allowed. For instance, in Telugu speaking states, we have many schools that have been established under the trust of Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam. These schools are what you say, run by the state but established under Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam Trust. That's why religious instructions are allowed. In type 3 and type 4 educational institutions, religious instructions are voluntary. In type 3 and type 4, religious instructions are voluntary. So this is Article 29. Then comes Article 28. Sorry, the previous one is Article 28. Now Article 29. Any section of citizens residing in any part of India having a distinct language, script, or culture of its own shall have the right to conserve the same. Any section of citizens residing in any part of India having a distinct language, script, or culture of its own shall have the right to conserve the same. So any section of people residing anywhere in India having their own language, their own script, their own culture shall have the right to conserve the same. That means they can protect and preserve their culture, their language, their script. In India, as you know, there are so many sections of the society who have their own language, their own script. So such kind of people have fundamental right to preserve and conserve the language and script of their own. Then section B of Article 29, second part, no citizen shall be denied admission into any educational institution. No citizen shall be denied admission into any educational institution maintained by the state or receiving aid from the state. No citizen shall be denied admission into any educational institution maintained by the state or receiving aid from the state on the grounds only of race, religion, etc. That means no citizen of India will be denied admission into any educational institutions maintained by the state or receiving aid from the state only on the grounds of religion, race, caste, region, etc. But only on the grounds means other grounds can be prescribed. Other grounds means merit, qualification, then entrance test, like that. They can prescribe other grounds such as merit. But on the grounds only of religion, race, etc., they cannot be denied admission into educational institute. The Supreme Court declared that this right is applicable for both minorities as well as majority communities. We may tend to think that this particular, what you say, fundamental right is available only for minority communities, but Supreme Court declared that this right is applicable for both minorities as well as majority communities. Minorities as well as majority communities. Then Article 30 says, all minorities shall have the right to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice. All minorities shall have the right to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice. For this purpose, for the purpose of Article 30, the Constitution recognized three types of minority educational institutions. For the purpose of Article 30, the Constitution of India has recognized three types of minority educational institutions. First type, the minority educational institutions which receive aid and recognition from the state. The minority educational institutions which receive aid and recognition from the state. The minority educational institutions which receive aid and recognition from the state. That is first category. Second category, the minority educational institutions which receive only recognition from the state. The minority educational institutions which receive only recognition from the state. Third category is the minority educational institutions which receive which do not receive neither the aid nor recognition. Neither aid nor recognition. With regard to the first two categories of minority educational institutions, with regard to the first two categories of minority educational institutions, the government can prescribe the modalities of administration, admissions, on what grounds the students should be admitted, and it can prescribe the guidelines for the administration of the educational institution. But with regard to the third type, the educational institution has full right to take the admissions. The third category of minority educational institution which does not receive neither recognition nor aid has full freedom with regard to admission of students into the educational institution. But with regard to the first and second category of minority educational institutions, the government can prescribe modalities for admission of students into these educational institutions. Then provision B of Article 30, this has been incorporated by 44th Amendment Act. This has been incorporated by 44th Amendment Act. The compensation fixed by the state for any minority educational institution, the compensation fixed by the state for any minority educational institution for compulsory acquisition of property for public purpose should be full. If the state is going to acquire the property of any minority educational institution under compulsory acquisition of property for public purpose under Article 31A, the state has to pay full compensation. The state has to pay full compensation means it has to pay the market rate. It has to pay the market rate for that particular educational institution as compensation. It has to pay the full compensation. Compensation fixed by the state for any minority educational institution for compulsory acquisition of property should be 44th Amendment Act. But whereas, on the other hand, if the state is going to acquire the property of educational institution that is run by any majority community, if the state is going to, acquire the property of any majority community's educational institution, the government can pay according to its discretion. This is how the Constitution gives more privilege to the minority educational institutions under Article 30. This is how also we are far, far better than any democratic country in the world with regard to right to freedom of religion. That's why, friends, in last mains, in 2019 mains, in issues in governance paper, the examiner asked, compare right to freedom of religion in France with that of India. In France also, right to freedom of religion is mentioned, but it is mentioned in preamble. It is not guaranteed by the Constitution. Tomorrow, if there were to be any kind of impeachment of right to freedom of religion in France, a aggrieved person cannot approach court of law, and court of law cannot enforce right to freedom of religion. But on the other hand, it has been enshrined under Part 3 of the Constitution. Hence, it is one of the fundamental rights. Consequently, the aggrieved person can directly approach Supreme Court, and Supreme Court can issue writ to enforce this particular fundamental. This is the major difference between the right to freedom of religion in French Constitution and in Indian Constitution. Second, in Indian Constitution, various types of right to freedom of religion have been elaborately discussed and ensured from Article 25 to Article 30. Article 25 to Article 30, these rights have been elaborately mentioned and ensured in the Constitution. This is also one of the major difference between French Constitution and Indian Constitution with regard to right to freedom of religion. Third, under Article 30, more advantage given to minority educational institutions than those of majority. And glaring example is provision B of Article 30, which says that the compensation fixed by the state for any minority educational institution for compulsory acquisition of property under Article 31A should be full. Then C, Article 30, Provision C. In granting aid, the state shall not discriminate against any educational institution managed by a minority group, minority religious community. While granting aid, the state shall not discriminate against any educational institution managed by a minority religious community. Clearly, this article bestows tremendous rights on minority communities. This is how we can say, even before the incorporation of the word secular in preamble by 42nd Amendment Act, the nature of the Constitution is secular itself by given the nature of the fundamental rights that have been enshrined from Article 25 to Article 30. This is clearly evident from this fact. Is grand testimony to the fact that the secular nature of the Constitution of India. The forefathers of Constitution of India have ingrained and incorporated the secular nature in our Constitution by ensuring right to freedom of religion from Article 25 to Article. And in Article 30, these rights, what to say, more bearing. So these are the articles from Article 25 to 30, friends. In our next session, that is Fundamental Rights Part 5, we are going to discuss Article 32, the constitutional remedies. Then we will discuss the various types of writs, habeas corpus, mandamus, tertiary, prohibition, quo warranto. After that, we will also discuss the exceptions to fundamental rights. Then we will discuss the articles from 33 to 35. After that, we will also discuss the Supreme Court judgment with regard to the conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy. The Supreme Court's, what do you say, judgment with regard to the conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy. Thank you, friends. I hope you found this session very useful and informative. We were prelims as well as mains. Please use my promo code, that is capital KIRAN. And if you have any queries, questions, you can, what you say, post them in my Telegram channel, that is polity_with_Kiran Anishetty. Thank you, friends. Thanks a lot.